I'm just wondering, do you have any advice on how to maybe cope with living with the curse?
When mediums repeatedly open themselves up to grief and spirits for television, are they ever at risk of bringing something home with them? Is there a spiritual cost to making mediumship into entertainment? Thanks.
A bit of a break from dating and relationships, but I'm thinking about starting to get back into it. Do you think I will fall in love this year?
Is there anything we can do from like a spiritual perspective to keep those energy vampires, succubuses, honestly, just like people with dark energy away from us?
I learned a lot from that question.
Great question.
Welcome to the Hidden History of Magic, WitchTV, where we share how you can do the magic behind each episode. Are you psychic and you don't even realize it? This week, we are giving audience readings while sharing hot tips about how to open your intuitive abilities.
We debrief what you should do if you've been cursed, tell you why showers are psychic portals, and how to protect yourself against energy vampires. You already know the history.
Let's dive in to the magic. I've got my Sacred Heart candle burning for us.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That I got at the Basilica here in Buffalo.
Ooh.
I love a religious store. A lot of witch things in there.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, welcome everyone to WitchTV, where we are going to be diving into more TV mediumship conversation. We're so blessed because our inbox overfloweth with questions from callers all around this beautiful world of ours. And we're going to dive in. We're going to answer some questions using our psychic powers. And then at the end of the episode, we're actually going to give you our psychic tips and tricks on how to really tune into your intuition, how to know that it's a psychic hit, how to feel it out in your body. And I'm really excited to get into all those details.
We'll dive into what it feels like to do a reading on the spot, like when you get a question and how to know that you actually know if you're doing a reading or not. For those of you who don't have I don't have clear visuals, just for the claircognizant folks out there, where you just have to kind of trust that it's you answering from a psychic place and not necessarily from a logical place. I think that'll be fun to talk about too.
Totally. So many different nuances. Before we dive in, Rhiannon, anything magical happening this week for you? Anything, are you up to any kind of fun stuff over there?
Oh, what can I say? I feel like it has just been a magical week because we've been doing so much magic. It kind of pulls me out of the mundane, and it makes it really hard for me to do things like watch the Love is Blind finale or that while washing dishes or silly little tasks that I think are so important in my life. And instead it makes me want to just go stand outside and look at the sky. And so I feel like I spent a lot more time this week it's also been sunny, so that really helps, and warm. So I feel like
I'm very jealous of your tank top situation. I'm still in full socks, full sweaters. I went out for a walk today and I was like, I'm going to wear my light coat. And I was like, no, this was a mistake. I needed the big guy. It's still very cold here.
I will say I do wear a tank top, even if it's 30 degrees. And then I just layer over it. I think it's a sensitivity, like a neurodivergent. I need my armpits free.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that way about jewelry. I can't really wear any jewelry. I'm very sensitive in the skin. I never wear my wedding ring. People are always like, are you married?
Yeah.
I never wear any jewelry, really.
Oh, wow.
Necklaces sometimes I can hang with for a day or two, but I'm very sensitive.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that. Yeah. So I've just been standing outside, looking at the clouds, feeling the sun, and going oh, shoot, I've got to do this other thing. And then not doing it because I get caught up in the magic. I also did literal magic yesterday. I did a session, speaking of answering, we took callers and answered questions. And then I did another reading and then we had magic hour this week. I feel like there's been just nonstop magic. And afterwards I feel so high. I'm like, how am I supposed to do work after this? How am I supposed to do anything else? Cause I feel like a cloud when I am really in the magic. And so it's just been that.
I love that. I'll echo that by saying I found my first sprig of a daffodil in my yard and I posted it on Instagram. I used to do the series called like Reporting Live from Zone 5, where I like do a gardening update for like all the manic people in Buffalo who are like just dying to get in the dirt. And it's so exciting. Like the idea and the promise of things getting green and being in the garden. And I'm such a garden nerd. I feel like even though it's cold and the world is crumbling, I'm just like, look at the earth. Like, look at her.
I am new to seasons, or, it's been 4 years since I've moved to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Daffodils, I feel like now understand that it's like the first sign of spring. Like once they start coming up, it's like, oh, the flowers
You've got your crocus, you've got your daffodils, you got your hyacinth. Those are usually, and maybe some tulips. Those are kind of like our first little budding, little wake ups.
Oh, that's so magical.
I feel like we could talk about that all day. Should we get to our callers here?
Yeah, let's do it. For our episode, as you heard, we took some callers and we're just going to continue the fun of doing a live reading. And for you at home, maybe as you hear it, if you want to participate, see what comes up. Say it out loud, say it in your mind, and maybe feel out what your advice would be. And you'll get to hear our advice. And maybe this can be a fun little exercise of your psychic reading abilities.
Agree. And I will also say, which I probably said in our bonus episode, that anytime I do a reading, I get information. So you might not totally identify with the question, but listen to the answer and see if there's anything that kind of rings true for you.
Chills.
All right, I'm going to see if I can play this and you tell me if you can hear it or not.
Okay.
Hi, this is Julia from California, and my question is about curses. I was told that I was named after a family member whose life was cursed, and I was given the name in order to break that curse. But lately I've been feeling like maybe I'm cursed too, and like not like heavily cursed, like devastation, but more like, the name comes with baggage and hurdles. I'm just wondering, do you have any advice on how to maybe cope with living with a curse, or like how to break curses, or just generally, do we believe that that's a thing? I'm still sort of trying to figure it all out. And how would I know? How would I even find out if I truly am cursed?
Well, we started with a banger.
Yeah.
Are you going to pull cards?
I am. And it's hard because I have to separate my logical brain from this. Because my mother, her name was Clorinda, and she was named after her aunt, Clorinda, but she was named after her aunt because Clorinda died young. And then my mom also died young. And so it's like, no one used that name. So this is making me think about that. But also from like a cosmology perspective, I have very specific ideas about curses. And this is one of those things that I always have questions about too, because there's a part of me that believes that you can only take on a curse if you believe in it and recreate it. And there's also the part of me that has experience.
I wrote down believe. Do you believe it? Same thing. Yeah.
And there's also the part of me that has experienced being cursed and having to get a limpia. And that, like, I literally, should I tell this story about being cursed?
I need to hear it.
Okay. So I moved to Atlanta and, it had been really hard. Like,
how did you even, okay, now you talk and then I will interrupt with many questions.
Okay. So hemorrhaging money, right?
Okay.
The drive across the country, everything that could go wrong went wrong while still leaving one Airbnb to go to the next one. They were like, oh, you broke something. And I'm like, oh, it must've been a child. And so I had to Venmo money to fix whatever. I stepped on a nail that went through my shoe into my foot. And I'm like, I think I'm cursed. I don't know what's going on.
Wow.
And then when I got to Atlanta, all of a sudden, I used to be a person who made my own deodorant. And it worked very well.
Yeah.
Or else everyone's lying to me. But I think it worked very well. And then I moved to Atlanta and I stunk. I went from wearing just my homemade every day, showering all the time, to like now I'm at clinical strength secret, bring on the aluminum again.
Go right there with you.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe it's the humidity. I don't know. But then
we found a new sponsor.
Yeah. But then the smell never went away. I was like, there's something wrong. I can't shower enough. I can't use whatever. Like there's nothing that I can do to cover. It's almost like I'm rotting from the inside. And then I was like, I smell foul. And I was like, oh, it's foul play. So then I went to an energy work friend and she was like, it's NVIDIA energy, like envy, evil eye, like, and it was like burrowing a hole into my heart space and like rotting.
Oh my God.
She did a limpia and the smell disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, though, I had an ocular migraine for the first time. The moment that she cleared out that energy, I had like an ocular migraine and I was like, it's an attack. I don't know what's going on. But I also don't believe, my idea is that I don't think anyone should have that much power over my life. Like it doesn't make sense. Like, how does this person have so much power over my life that then I had to go to this place? So this isn't the reading. Well, this is kind of the reading because sometimes I have to do readings by sharing personal experience stories. Yeah.
No, this is all very informative, I think. And I'm on the edge of my seat. So keep going.
And so the thing that I had to realize is that, yes, I could go to someone else for help because I had a blind spot about it and they cleared it. And then the smell went away, thankfully, because it was so embarrassing. It was also the first time that I had gotten into this pre-accelerator for a tech startup. And so I was meeting people for the first time, but I was also locked in conference rooms with people doing work. And I was like, oh my God, I smell like the whole room smells of me. I don't even know. I'm so sorry. But I realized like, oh, energy work is very helpful. And the part of me, there was a part of me that was like, why does someone else have more power over me, over my life? Like, how can they attack me? But also the part of me that is codependent, that's like, I will be beneath you so you don't hurt me. I do deserve to be taken down a notch because things were going really well. And I didn't know that I deserved these things either. And so it was, if someone was like sending, I think of this like evil eye or NVIDIA energy as, I don't know, it's like people that like blow a poisonous dart and then or Moana, the little coconuts.
The coconuts.
Yeah, I see it as that. Normally your aura can block all of that because it's like, no thanks. But if you are like, I do need to be taken down a notch, I do need to be taken down a peg, then it's easier to, and I don't want to do it myself. Like, I don't want to go, I don't deserve all of this. It's very easy for me to be like, oh, let me take the poison because I deserve it. You're right.
I'm going to ask a tough question.
Yes, please.
Do you think you were self-sabotaging during your move? Do you think you had inadvertently cursed yourself?
Yes. And I called in people who would be happy to help. It's like I put out a neon sign that said,
so you kind of feel like you got
so that I could be the victim
and then magnetized even more stuff. Wow.
Yeah. Cause I don't like to, I was moving. Let me fix every problem. I'm going to do it. But also at the same time, I was too busy trying to move and survive that I didn't have time. It would have been easy to self-sabotage. I could have just not done anything.
Yeah.
But, and it would have all fallen apart by itself. But I also like to be the victim. I think sometimes and so I tend to externalize that kind of stuff. But part of it, I think the lesson that I learned is also that part of it is because someone else has that much power over my life because I am giving it by deciding that their opinion of me is more truthful than my opinion of me.
Well, I think what you said is actually very poignant to our caller because you, to share your story, you got help, you got a friend to kind of get in there, get under the hood, mix the energy up. And then it sounds to me like then you took it a step further and decided, okay, like here's how I'm going to align and, find freedom from this kind of belief system. And so what I would offer to Julia is exactly that if you feel like you need a little bit of shaking up or Reiki or energy to kind of shake up what's underneath the hood, yes. However, to Rhiannon, to your point, Like you are in control of your destiny and the energy that you give. So if you think you're cursed, girl, like you're cursed, you know? If you think that it could come for you, it's going to come for you. So what are your belief systems around this? And if for you, it would be really energetically powerful to have a ceremony, almost see like this beautiful outdoor ceremony where you're lighting a candle and you're speaking truth to what the name means to you and what you're calling in. And then maybe even you're writing it out and you're burying it and you're letting it go and letting it just release and be free and get off your shoulders and just shake yourself out of. It feels to me like there needs to be a before and after. And so I like the idea of them giving themselves the space to honor whatever the trauma was, whatever the curse was that they carried. And now they got to let it go.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I pulled the King of Pentacles here, and it does kind of look like a ceremony, right? Where it's like releasing all of these things under this archway with the sun right behind. And it feels almost like this open palm pose is about surrender. Because here's the thing also that I think is very important when we talk about curses. Bad things are meant to happen. Hard things are meant to happen, because if we think about our life as our story, you know, even thinking about the idea of like the Akashic Library is where we keep all our lifetimes, it's in a fucking book, which means it's a story or a movie. You know, when people have their life reviews, it's a movie or a play that they get to watch again. It's entertainment. One of the most important pieces that makes a story and not just a statement is conflict. And so I think you'll know that it's not a curse when you get to experience the challenges, as it's that like very cliche thing of like, this is happening for me and not to me. And even the ability to overcome the challenges as they come, or still be like the sparkly romantic you that you are in spite of all of the challenges that can harden you. I mean, I think of the King of Pentacles as this like very grounded, earthy, like a gardener, or, you know, like someone who's like in hands in the earth. And to garden, you're gonna come across weeds, but that doesn't mean that your garden is devastated. It just means that you got to do this work instead. Or, you know, like it kind of guides you. It's responding to the world that's in front of you without it having to mean anything about who you are.
I think that's beautiful. And I think they should do a ceremony.
Yeah.
I think that would be, I think there's something about the ancestors that are calling to them, and it's coming up for a reason. So explore it. Ready for our next caller?
Let's see how many embarrassing stories. Oh, sorry.
New York.
Go ahead.
Let's see how many embarrassing stories I will be asked to tell about myself. You already know I stink.
I feel like I stand in solidarity with you though, because I feel like after having children, my biology has completely changed, and we don't have to go into it, but it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
No.
Okay, here's Rebecca calling from New York.
Hi, this is Rebecca from New York, and my question is, when mediums repeatedly open themselves up to grief and spirits for television, are they ever at risk of bringing something home with them? Is there a spiritual cost to making mediumship into entertainment? Thanks.
Ooh, Rebecca, what a good question. I really have to ponder this one. Do you want to pick a card, or do you have anything top of mind that came through for you?
Okay, so this is one of those things where I think it also comes back to the same cosmology about like curses, right? Is that if we are the center of our reality, and if we're meant to do energy work or mediumship, or we've been given this gift, to me, it doesn't make sense that it would hurt, because things that are in alignment don't create harm, right?
Yes. And
yes. Yeah.
I will say, you know, the thing that's coming to mind is, you know, I go to Lilydale and there's a lot of mediums there. And I remember meeting with a medium who really thought that his mediumship was killing him, who really was like, I'm deteriorating and my timeline is going to be shorter because this energetic exchange that I'm experiencing is very, to him, it was very heavy. And I know just offline, we had talked briefly about Tyler Henry yesterday and about how, do you want to speak on Tyler Henry and kind of the energy you think he's giving and receiving, and his, because he's had a lot of health problems also.
He has. Yeah. I remember the first time that I saw Tyler Henry, he had mentioned on his special that he had just recovered from a collapsed lung, and that every once in a while that happens. And I feel like It's one of those things where I wanted to like jump in and go like, let's create energetic boundaries. Let's find a way to do this in a way where you don't have to give of yourself in the same, where you don't have to sacrifice your body or bring it into yourself. Sometimes I think we feel like we have to bring all the information into our body. And this isn't just for mediums. I see this in everyday people where their empathy kind of is born from absorbing other people's emotions. But the thing about that is that we can't process someone else's emotions. I learned this from Cindy Dale and her book, Everyday Clairvoyant, where she talks about you can't process someone else's emotions, but sometimes we absorb it so that we can resonate or relate with people.
Yeah.
It gets stuck in your field. And now you're dealing with this thing when all you have to do is release it. And that's where energetic hygiene becomes a thing, about making sure that we're not holding on to other people's stuff. And with mediumship too, I think it can be one of those things where you're often speaking about people's grief or speaking to people's grief. Or, I mean, you can probably speak more to this because you feel people's feelings surging through you. And so I can see where if in your own body it resonates, how it can trigger things in your own body.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been really reflecting on this question, and I don't know if I have like a great answer for it because as somebody who's still figuring out my balance with being a medium, with being a mom, with being a human in the world, I'm still trying to kind of like hold all the balls for it. However, I will say I don't remember a lot of my readings.
Yeah.
Like if you were to ask me, about your mom or something that I mentioned, I couldn't tell you. Like I don't, because I channel in a certain part of my brain, that's not a part of like my memory system and my experience. And so most of the time, and I'm embarrassed to say this on the mic because I'm sure I have people who are callers who I've done readings for, like, but I don't remember. I don't remember any of the ancestors. I don't remember any of the information. And I think part of that is like my body's way of releasing me from it and not allowing me to like hold on to the story. But in the same vein, being close to grief, I will say I find it to be such a sacred role. And I find it to be such a fucking privilege to like be witness to somebody's grief and their experience. And the only reading that I've ever done that's really taken me out emotionally is the first time I talked to a bereaved parent. And after that experience, I wept in my office. It wasn't necessarily because I was holding their energy. It was just because as a parent, I felt so many feelings, so many things, But also I found it to be such a humbling and beautiful and like my honor to be part of the circle in which was, conversed. I will also say I think that I have good boundaries, question mark. And I always wash my hands after readings. I always release it from my body. And I will say I do this practice almost daily where I either ask the sun or the moon to absorb and release whatever I don't need. So almost like a drain going back into the earth. And I say, will you take it from me? And that has been a very powerful practice for me to do. I'm still kind of coping with and unpacking and figuring that piece of it out.
I love that.
Yes. Make any sense?
That's a beautiful illustration of hygiene. And I think boundaries are a really big part of energetic hygiene, and emotional boundaries are a really big part of energetic hygiene. When I do sessions, I also don't remember them unless someone says something and then I'm like, okay, let me go back to the place.
It's like, sure. But it's not your memory. So it doesn't, you don't feel it in that same way.
Exactly. And I think it's also that I'm trying to be really detached, but something that I do experience is that the sessions that most resonate with what I'm currently emotionally dealing with, those take the most energy out of me. But it's because what I get shown, what my guides have me do is I sometimes have to do energy work on myself, or I have to vacuum the house or do some kind of ritual, clean the clutter or go for a walk and move energy through my body as I'm thinking about this to create space in myself to hold space for the session that I'm about to do. But usually they make me do it before I do the session. And I think that helps me. It doesn't make it so I'm not trying to like fit something bigger than I can hold through my body. It does require a lot of, like, sometimes sessions are really hard because I have to do an hour of work on myself to do, to like hold space for some really big, dark or sensitive or identity, especially identity related stuff. So yeah, I think all of this is part of this. The gift itself, sometimes you can't help it. Like it just comes through, right? But then there are all of these ways that you can take care of yourself so that it doesn't have to be draining, so that it can just be aligned and flow.
And I will just also add that if I didn't have this gift and this ability, like I would probably be dead. Like I also so deeply feel that being connected to spirit, and I'm, making a joke, but I am serious in that, like, it keeps my frequency high and it keeps me taking care of myself. To your point, you can't sit down and do a session if you are unregulated. Like, it keeps me in a very, like, high frequency routine that keeps my mental health strong. And I feel like if I didn't have that responsibility, if I didn't have that connection to spirit, I'd probably be in bed all day. Like it allows me, as much as we give, I think, and I think people are afraid of that. And to Rebecca's question, it's like, what are you sacrificing? I get 1,000 times more in my daily life with my connection and my ability to talk to my guides, my ability to manifest and co-create, have magic. And so I don't want us to end on it feeling like this great burden to be open, because for me, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And even to be able to witness someone else's healing or advice or guidance, it's like, oh, shoot, I need to do that. And even like the process of it can be exhausting. Like, oh, I have to create space by washing the dishes, or I have to create space by like addressing this father wound or whatever is going on.
Yeah.
Means also that I have to face these things that now create space where it's not this heavy thing that I'm carrying around anymore. And it creates this opportunity for forgiveness that, sure, it's like, it's work, but I know that I'm so much better for it. And I feel like I'm with you on that I don't know who I would be or where I would be if I didn't do this.
Completely. I will also say, like, us having small children re-anchors and grounds us in a way that's, we're not able to be airy-fairy all the time. And I could see people getting lost in that and getting, floating off into the ether. Like, we both have responsibilities and lunches to pack and, schedules to keep, which also humbling. I think keeps us anchored, Yeah. Okay, we've got another caller here. Let's listen in.
Hi, I'm Katie calling from Toronto. My question is this. I've taken a bit of a break from dating and relationships, but I'm thinking about starting to get back into it. Do you think I will fall in love this year?
Ooh.
I love this question.
Oh, my heart feels so fun right now. Do you have a first response?
I do. And I feel like I'm cheating a little bit because I do know this person, and I know their energy and I know their ability to manifest. And my initial thought and feeling is like, this is such a powerful witch who called in. And if she wants it, she can have it. She's been kind of on this journey of like, not really being interested and not really being focused on relationships. But when she said that little thing at the end of like, will I find love? Like, it felt so beautiful and it felt like an invitation and an opening. And so I feel if energetically that's what she wants to call in, if she really is stepping her foot out into the door, then she'll find it.
Oh, I love that. Okay. The first thing that popped into my head when I heard this is that yes. And it feels like an invitation to fall in love in lots of different ways.
Ooh.
As much as you can and see what your capacity for love is, in the sense of falling in love with a coffee or, like that feeling of having a crush on life and all the ways of like, oh, this is new and exciting, and playing with what it is that you want, or would it be fun to thinking about what I would love to manifest is like tickets to the World Cup. You know what I mean? Thinking about that, or seeing like, what can I manifest through this dating experience, and see how many ways that you can, I don't know. Yeah. There's like falling in love with a book. I'm seeing it as like falling in love this year. If you want that to be a theme, that dating can be a doorway that opens up the sensation to bring it into how many ways can you fall in love with lots of things in your daily life. And it feels like the more that you can fall in love with everything, then it will just be a net, like you can't help but magnetize that into everything that comes for you. And so I drew this card. It's so funny because I don't actually know what this card means. It's the 7 of Wands. This is one where I'm like, oh, I don't remember. But looking at the image, it's this person in the sun, the rays are radiating, but look at all these hands that are coming up, reaching out. And it does feel more like this person at the center is magnetizing all these people reaching out. They're almost like the way that the hands move make me think of like dance, or it's like gentle. It's not reaching, grabbing, but there is this open, ready to receive. And so it feels like thinking about the ways that you can even fall in love with the parts of yourself that all these different experiences get to bring out in you. There are a lot of people who want to receive that from you.
I love what you said about like falling in love with the book, falling in love with this, like have this year be a tantalizing year where you're just in love with whatever you experience. What a beautiful invitation.
I love this. Great question.
All right, we've got one more here and we'll wrap up.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm from LA. And my question is, if I've realized that I'm sort of someone who constantly attracts these sort of energy vampires in friendships and these sort of like volatile women who will sort of retaliate in some extreme or scary way if I try and make a boundary or move on when I realize the friendship isn't healthy for me anymore, is there anything I can do from like a spiritual perspective to sort of keep that energy away from me? And of course, like obviously I'm unpacking this in therapy too, because some of it has to do with like me trusting my gut and making boundaries early on. But is there anything we can do from like a spiritual perspective to kind of keep those energy vampires, succubuses, honestly, just like people with dark energy away from us in friendships? Because I find that like a moth to a flame, the psychos all want to be my friend and I really just want to be left alone. Sorry to think of myself as the light, but it does sometimes feel like the toxic people are attracted to the light. Is that crazy to say? Anyways, love you. Excited to hear your answer. Thank you so much.
What a big one. That's a
I
big
know.
question.
It is.
So many pieces. I'm still reflecting. Do you have anything that...
Well, as a codependent, it is one of those things that, so when I think of an energy vampire, there is something about a light, right? That people can be attracted to someone's light and that can be it. It reminds me of the curse question at the beginning, where they can only take your energy if you consent. That's like the mythology of vampires too, right? Like you have to invite them into your house.
Oh, interesting.
As you were talking, what the guides feel like they're saying is that this is not about blocking them. You're asking about an energetic thing to stop it from happening, but it's happening for a reason. It's happening because it's inviting you into trusting your intuition and your discernment and feeling like it's safe for you to draw a boundary. Yeah. Discernment. Yeah, there you go. It's asking you to know that you are safe, even if you have to deliver hard news, even if someone is going to retaliate. I have the experience. I grew up in a very abusive environment, and it was literally dangerous for me to say, please don't hurt me. As a grown-up, what that looks like now is it makes it very scary to express my needs anyway. And often I can be put into situations where I'm being asked to say something, and something that's very basic for some people makes me cry. Just to ask for like a basic amount of respect. I cry, it scares me. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, can't you just send me people who respect my boundaries? But no, because I need to practice realizing that it's safe and that what someone says about me in response to drawing this boundary is not true. And so it's all an invitation to using discernment and trusting that your voice is worth listening to. Your voice is worth being the authority.
I love that take. And also, I felt like my logical brain was kind of stepping into this question, and I was like trying to make room for spirit. So I pulled some cards because I wanted to be very clear about what she needs. And I showed you before that Two of Swords card is really kind of about our internal ability to make decisions and to be, to use our discernment, but also to execute. The swords are a suit that allows us to set a boundary, walk away. cut something loose, keep it moving. It's not a suit that lingers. And when I see this person, this Two of Swords being blindfolded, it really is an invitation to like kind of go internally and allow yourself kind of the room to decide how you want your friendships or relationships, or even if it's a specific person, how you want them to unfold, and really trust and honor and stick to that. And then the second card that I got was I did pick 3 for this person, is the Knight of Swords. And this is very like frantic, aggressive, overwhelming energy. And this feels like you feel like you're on the attack. Like you have to respond to energy. And so this card to me is Spirit's way of saying, to your point, Rhiannon, like you get to control your energy and how much of it is going to set you off in a reaction. And if these people aren't your true friends anyway, then that allows you to kind of, again, make the cut, walk away. And it also feels like it could be a balance where you're really going back and thinking about the friendships that nurture you, 3 of Cups, that give you the support that you need, that give you that energy boost. It feels like you know what it is that you need to sustain a friendship, and you're willing to look through people's mistakes. You're willing to give people second chances. You're willing to put yourself second in a friendship instead of claiming what you want, what you need. And so it feels to me, honestly, like a habit that's going to keep repeating until you choose yourself, until you go inward and decide what it is you want. And the interesting thing about energy vampires, to our callers' point, is that they can see it, they can feel it, they know it. So the minute you change your energy and say, no, this is how I'm acting, this is the friendships I'm investing in, this is the boundary, that feels really important to name and to say and to do. And then you asked about like a spiritual component, and I immediately got Archangel Michael. And I know we talked about Michael on an earlier episode. Having a totem of Archangel Michael to protect you, to give you confidence, to stand confidently by you. I feel like he could be a good guide to help you put your shoulders back a little bit and claim what it is you deserve in your friendships.
Love that. He also has a sword, and he helps cut away cords, cut away anything that's in the way. I will say what's funny is I think you drew only swords, and I had drawn a card too that's the 9 of Swords, which is about, so it feels like you're carrying a lot of the worry. I feel like the 9 of Swords is about the worry, right? Like staying up at night and you're thinking about thoughts, but it's related to stuff that isn't any of your business, which unfortunately, how people think about you or what they're going to do in response to you is none of your business. And this is very hard. I say this as a person who cannot handle it myself. But what's cool about this version of the 9 of Swords is that it's Nefertiti here. Nefertiti is the symbol of beauty and stoicism and just allowing yourself to be the beautiful light that you know that you are, that you feel that you are. These vampires are creating space for doubt. And what we can do to make sure that you feel as beautiful as you know that you are is making sure that you find the mirrors. Like if a mirror is cloudy and broken, find a new mirror that will reflect back to you exactly what you believe to be true, what you know to be true, what you want to believe to be true. But these busted mirrors are creating some doubt.
I love it. I learned a lot from that question.
Great questions.
Great
Everyone
questions.
really brought it.
I feel like we went in so many beautiful directions, and this was such a fun opportunity for us to go into different spiritual pockets. I think if Hidden History of Magic listeners enjoyed the questions, perhaps want to submit their own question, maybe in the future we'll do another bonus where we go through and answer questions. It'll give us an opportunity to talk about some different topics. So maybe what we'll do is we'll leave the email for the podcast in the show notes. And if you feel compelled to leave a question at any point of your journey, it could be now, could be in a week or 2 weeks when you need some witches, feel free to give us a call.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how you channel your information and how you get your psychic energy from?
I think for me, it's one of those things that's really, I was telling you before we hopped on that anytime we have to do a reading, I don't know if I'm the kind of psychic that can do a reading. I think I can just do energy work or whatever. But when the question comes, there's the answer, it feels like it comes through. And some of the things I don't necessarily, it's not what I would say or how I agree. And so even with the like curse question, I could feel myself being split into what the human version of me thinks.
Yep.
And so I'm like, oh, here, this is channeled. And so what I have to do though, because it comes to me almost like one idea at a time and I don't know where it's going, but the only way to get the next piece of information, the next breadcrumb, is I have to say this piece out loud and then the next one will come. And that's how I know it's not mine, because it's not a fully thought idea in my brain that I have to speak. It comes chunk by chunk.
And then so cool.
I love like divination tools, I think are really helpful because sure, there's a meaning for what the card is, but then it kind of reframe the bits of information. It helps me go like, oh, this is what you're trying to feed me. And you're giving me just enough to go like, okay, now we can go a little bit faster.
Yeah, I love to do a tarot WitchTV at some point and talk about it because I think for sure it almost serves as like a trigger and it allows your brain to kind of go in a new area. I mean, I think also I've been doing psychic readings long enough to know like what's me and what's not me. And I think it's feeling that like, oh, this is how I would logically answer this question if it was my friend. And then this wave of other information that's like, no, this is it.
Yeah.
To your point, it's like hard to explain like what goes on in the brain, but it certainly feels like something else. And I will also say that as I'm listening to the people ask the questions, if I get flashes of images or pictures or things, then I know that's also from spirit. Like it's almost like a reaction to the voice does something to me energetically. And I like, you know, that idea of first thought, best thought, I think comes through really strong too when you just have an initial gut reaction. That is spirit to me.
Yes. I feel like that first thought, best thought, it makes me think of how on the other side, everyone communicates telepathically and it comes as like packets of information if they don't use language, like word by word by word. And so I feel like it's the first thought because I don't have to hear the whole question. I just have to hear the first two words and they're already, people are like,
coming through.
Ooh, yeah, I got it. And it feels like they already know the answer. And I'm like, but we don't know the question yet.
Yeah.
We don't know where this is going to turn. There's 5 seconds left of this.
Yeah, it is something that it definitely takes kind of some knowing. There's also like physical tells in the body that sometimes, usually for mediumship, like my body will respond in certain ways and I'll kind of know, okay, like I'm tuning in.
Ooh, but what does it feel like for you?
Usually my eyes water, which we talked about with Paolo. It's almost like a calm, peaceful energy, like in my chest. And I feel really centered and really aligned. And so I know what that feeling is like in my body of like being through the veil.
Oh, that's really subtle.
It is. It's not a big jump.
Yeah.
So it can be confusing sometimes when things slip through because sometimes it just happens naturally. Sometimes if people talk about dead relatives, then I'll start to get stuff before I like set myself up energetically to receive. So that certainly happens. But I was also going to say for listeners who are like, how would I practice psychic abilities? And is this something I could kind of do at home? Something I do with my daughters actually is we have a deck of Go Fish cards and we'll pick 3 characters and then we'll each try to guess what's behind the characters. So we'll practice our telepathy, our knowing with these kind of like children's games. You can do it with an Uno deck or a deck of cards, but allow your brain to kind of play in that area of knowing and knowledge. And there's other psychic things we could share, you know, in future, but that's kind of an easy breezy way to start.
Oh, I love that. Testing your intuition. I also think that once I started channeling and studying it and hearing about it, and I felt it for the first time. And again, it's that feeling of, it feels like it's information that's rushing through right here. And it's one word at a time. Like if I don't know the end of this sentence, then I'm like, like, I don't think this is from me. But it made me realize the first time that I became conscious of it, of like, oh, I'm channeling right now. This isn't from me. This is something else that wants to come through. Then I suddenly noticed how often it happens when a friend and I are having a chit chat about like advice or whatever. And suddenly I could tell the difference of what is conversation versus stuff that kind of wants to come through. And so sometimes I think that you may already be tapping into your intuition. You just don't know the feeling of it.
Totally.
Yet.
1,000,000%. A trillion million percent.
Yeah. And just notice. Or even like watching reality TV and getting like watching Love is Blind and being like, this person feels what, like try to do a read. Try to feel out who they are.
I think that's such a beautiful way to end because 9 out of 10, it's so subtle. You're probably doing it anyway and you don't notice.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Is it unethical to say, read these people on TV?
Just for a little practice. They're out there.
For practice at home.
The other thing I will say, this is like my super tip, which I'm sure I'll say a million times during the run of the podcast. But if I have a question that I like need an answer from spirit to, like by the end of day, like with deadline TikTok, I will kind of do my deep breathing. I'll try to connect. I'll see what comes through, and I'll give myself kind of that space energetically to either meditate or listen to music or just, be in alignment with my thoughts. And then I'll get in the shower. And when you ask the question before you get in the shower, your body is so used to, being in its flow state, and you're not thinking with the logical part of your brain that is a good way for spirit hits to come through. Oftentimes, if I have something, it's like I'll do the meditation, then I'll supercharge it with a shower.
Showers are so magical. They're like a little portal.
Agree.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, this was fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, so fun. Let's do it again. Submit your questions so we could do it again.
I love it. Thanks, Rhiannon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Hidden History of Magic. If you like the show, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. This show is produced by Rhiannon Houch and Erin Bagwell. A very special thanks to our patrons who make this podcast possible.
To join our coven of gorgeous witches, get bonus episodes, attend live events, and learn real magic inspired by each episode, join us on Patreon.
If you would like your own personal reading from Rhiannon or Erin, check out our links in the show notes. Until next time.